In the desolate, windswept plains, far from the bustling cities and their comforting illusions of order, stood Blackwood Asylum. Its imposing, Gothic silhouette, perpetually shrouded in the chill embrace of isolation, had for decades served as a fortress for fractured minds. Here, behind thick stone walls and countless locked doors, reality was not a fixed constant, but a fluid, often terrifying concept, reinterpreted 1,000 times over in the echoing corridors. Among its residents was Elias Vance, a man once hailed as a brilliant astrophysicist, now merely patient number 734. His descent into this twilight world began with visions of impossible geometries, of silent, emerald lights dancing in the night sky. Visions that cost him his career, his freedom, and ultimately, his sanity, at least in the eyes of the world. For years, Elias had been relegated to the quiet desperation of his sparsely furnished room, his pleas for validation met with sympathetic but firm doses of sedatives. He spoke of the Veridian anomaly, a term he'd coined for the object he claimed to track from his remote observatory, an object that defied known physics, that pulsated with an otherworldly green glow. The staff, of course, documented these as classic delusions of grandeur and paranoid ideation. Tonight, however, the usual disquiet within Blackwood was amplified by an almost palpable tension. A cold, electric hum, subtle yet insistent, seemed to vibrate through the very foundations of the building, a low-frequency current beneath the usual symphony of moans, whispers, and distant shouts. Elias felt it first, a familiar, almost nostalgic tingling in the air, a prelude to something other. He pressed his face against the cold, iron bars of his window, his breath fogging the glass momentarily. His gaze, usually unfocused and distant, was now sharp, fixed on the star-dusted expanse above. The sky, once his canvas of discovery, now felt like a mocking reminder of his fractured state. Yet tonight, it held a different promise. Then he saw it. A silent, impossibly large object, radiating that soft, iridescent green light he knew so well, drifting across the inky blackness. It was no earthly aircraft, no known celestial phenomenon. It was the Veridian anomaly, exactly as he had described in his increasingly frantic research notes before his breakdown. His heart, long dulled by medication, thrummed with a terrifying mix of vindication and fear. He wasn't mad. It was real. They were here. In the asylum's dimly lit monitoring room, the formidable Nurse Ratched presided. Her adherence to procedure bordered on the tyrannical, her face a mask of stern control. She noticed a sudden surge in the asylum's antiquated electrical grid. Lights flickered erratically, the fluorescent tubes humming with an angry buzz. The rarely used radio in the corner crackled with raw, incomprehensible static, a sound she summarily dismissed as an old building's unreliable infrastructure. She attributed the agitated ramblings of a few particularly sensitive patients, Elias among them, reporting green lights and vibrations, as mere extensions of their disturbed minds, a collective neurological spasm. Just another Tuesday in Blackwood, she'd likely muttered. But the disturbance was spreading beyond her easy dismissal. Even some of the more heavily medicated residents, usually lost in their own internal worlds, stirred with an uncharacteristic unease. Their eyes, once vacant, now fixated on the barred windows, drawn by an unseen force. Whispers, disjointed and fragmented, about a strange luminescence in the distance began to ripple through the wards, growing louder, more desperate. Dr. Albright, the asylum's head psychiatrist, a man whose kind eyes belied his deep weariness from years of witnessing the labyrinthine complexities of the human psyche, noted the unusual spike in nocturnal agitation in his logbook. He too attributed it to mundane factors, the approaching lunar cycle, perhaps a shared dream state. He had seen stranger things outside, above the desolate grounds of Blackwood. The source of the unease, the Veridian anomaly, silently descended. Its massive, seamless, disc-shaped form, shimmering with an otherworldly emerald glow, cast an enormous, rotating shadow across the crumbling brick. It hovered directly above the asylum's secluded west wing, a place rarely visited, accessible only through a reinforced double-locked door, home to the institution's most withdrawn and seemingly unreachable patients, those deemed beyond conventional treatment. The low, resonant hum emanating from it, a sound that bypassed the ear and vibrated directly through the old stone walls, felt like a silent symphony. A symphony that perhaps only the most sensitive ears, or more unsettlingly, the most unburdened minds, could truly perceive.
Nurse Ratched, her face now a mask of barely contained alarm, was alerted by increasingly frantic calls from the night staff in the West Wing. Patients, they're lucid. They're talking about seeing angels, green ships. The reports were incoherent, unbelievable. Finally, overriding her ingrained aversion to the West Wing's chaos, she decided to investigate herself, Dr. Albright reluctantly accompanying her. What she saw through the grimy, reinforced window of a rarely opened observation room defied her rigid worldview, shattering her carefully constructed reality. A colossal, silent craft, bathed in an impossible emerald light, hovered outside. An impossible sight that sent a profound tremor of fear through her tightly controlled demeanor, stripping away her cold professionalism. Dr. Albright, initially clinging to the logical explanations, dismissed the first reports as mass hysteria, a phenomenon not uncommon within the closed, high-stress environment of the asylum. But when he saw it himself, the sheer, undeniable impossibility of the object hanging in the night sky above his institution, an object that defied every law of physics he knew, his scientific skepticism wavered. He felt a cold knot of dread form in his stomach. This was not a delusion. This was real. Within the West Wing, Elias Vance felt a strange sense of calm wash over him as the green light enveloped his room. For the first time in years, the chaotic noise in his mind quieted. The swirling madness that had consumed his thoughts, the whispers and the shadows, now receded, replaced by an astonishing clarity. He saw not frightening geometries, but intricate patterns of light, felt not terror, but a profound sense of recognition, as if he were seeing a long-lost friend. He understood, with a certainty that pierced through years of medication and doubt, that these beings were not here to harm. They were observing, perhaps even healing, drawn to the unique energetic signatures of human minds, especially those that vibrated on a different, unconstrained frequency. He felt a deep, telepathic connection, not with words, but with a flow of pure understanding. They were scientists, studying the intricate tapestry of human consciousness, And in his moment of clarity, he understood that perhaps, in their alien way, they were trying to offer a glimmer of healing, a fleeting touch of cosmic empathy. As quickly and silently as it arrived, the Veridian anomaly began its ascent. The colossal craft pulsed with an ethereal green light, intensifying for a moment, then rose silently, swiftly, a silent ghost disappearing into the inky blackness of the pre-dawn sky, leaving behind only the faintest trace of a sweet, almost metallic scent in the air. The humming subsided, the electrical grid stabilized, and an uneasy, profound silence descended once more upon Blackwood, heavier than before. In the aftermath, something had subtly shifted within the asylum. A few patients, previously lost in their own worlds, spoke of fleeting moments of astonishing clarity, of seeing something beautiful and strange. The catatonic woman briefly moved her hand to her chest. The man who hadn't spoken in years murmured another word, this time green. Elias Vance, no longer agitated, calmly recounted what he had seen, his voice clear, his eyes focused, filled with a quiet, knowing that defied his diagnosis. Dr. Albright, his scientific foundations shaken to their core, began to review Elias's long-dismissed notes with a newfound sense of unease, a gnawing doubt. Had the Veridian anomaly been a figment of a broken mind, or had the broken minds of Blackwood been the only ones open enough, unburdened enough by conventional thought, to perceive a reality beyond the accepted? Nurse Ratched, however, retreated further into her rigid routines, dismissing the events as mass hallucination, a collective delusion fueled by disturbed minds. She clung to her logical explanations, to the comfort of the mundane. But in the sterile silence of her office, a seed of doubt had been planted. A tiny, almost imperceptible crack in the formidable wall of her unwavering certainty. She would never admit it, not aloud, but the image of that impossible green craft would forever haunt the periphery of her stern mind. The world outside Blackwood remained oblivious to the silent visitation. News reports spoke of peculiar atmospheric conditions, unusual electrical surges. But within those locked walls, whispers persisted. Whispers of a green light, a fleeting clarity, and the unsettling, profound possibility that the truly mad were not those confined within, but those who refused to see beyond the walls of their own perceived reality, those who chose comfort over cosmic truth. And Elias Vance, once the asylum's most fervent deluded, now looked to the night sky with a quiet knowing, a whisper of the cosmos echoing in the newfound, profound silence of his mind. He was still in Blackwood, but he was no longer confined. He was free, for he had seen the truth, and the truth, in its terrifying beauty, had set him free.